Bienvenidos a la semana 2 del GSC invitational. Hoy tenemos un enfrentamiento entre Keshbah y Kingler, no el Pokémon, el jugador tonto, que quizá no sean los nombres más conocidos de la escena, pero que siguen luchando por una meta enorme: convertirse en el rey de GSC. En la primera ronda, Kingler sorprendió a muchos derrotando a Conflict con elecciones muy creativas, incluyendo Counter Golem y un Tyranitar con Screech y Fire Blast. Mientras tanto, Conflict llevó picks poco comunes como Venusaur, Entei y Shuckle a lo largo de la serie. Por otro lado, Keshbah consiguió su pase venciendo a Dawnbuster con una mezcla de stall sólido y equipos centrados en Vaporeon. Ahora ambos jugadores avanzan a la semana 2. No olviden suscribirse y unirse al Discord para apoyar el torneo con donaciones, compartir sus hot takes y, por supuesto, seguir las partidas en vivo. Alright, hope you guys are having a good time. I decided to record just one more game of GSC round 2 of the Invitational. So, let's get this party started. We got Keshbah on the left and Kingler on the right. Okay, so let's see what they're cooking. We got a Raikou lead. Hopefully their teams are going to be interesting and not just your run-of-the-mill stuff, or with a few innovations, should be interesting. So Raikou gets parried, and Kingler is going to dip. So they're going to switch to Snorlax, and in comes the Fori. Now, depending on what kind of player you are, it could be wise to scout. Well, depending on what player you're facing, rather, it could be wise to scout for a Fire Blast. But Keshbah doesn't do that. I lost a Fortress yesterday to a Fire Blast Lax, so I seem to be the one catching all the strays here. But no, this Fori is hanging on tight, gets Toxic, gets Spikes, and even makes it out A-okay. So Keshbah is easily going to be able to phase this Snorlax. It's Curse Earthquake after all, so no Sleep Talk. And so all the moves are revealed. I mean, the only one that hasn't been revealed is the normal move, but, there's only one player that would run Curse, Quake, and Sleep Talk with no stab. But yeah, anyways, Jinx, forcing in the Raikou, tries to hide behind a sub, goes for it a second time, and those are pretty good odds. Remember, to connect two Thunders, that's already a 49% odds of both connecting. So you're already at a deficit. But if you're going through paralysis chances as well, the chances of you managing to stay behind that sub are pretty high, at least for those two turns. But Jinx manages to get some damage off despite the crunch. So that's pretty good. Actually, that's an ideal turn, I would say, especially because because Kingler has Snorlax and can force out that Raikou immediately. So if Kingler can get their phaser in, not their phaser, their spiker, then that's great for them. Meantime, Keshbah revealing the Lovely Kiss Lax, putting asleep a very valuable target. Putting to sleep. My grammar today is not on point. Cloyster. Gonna get those spikes, but that also means Raikou will be able to wake up next turn just fine. In comes Rhydon. And I'm starting to remember why I wanted to commentate on this replay. Jinx Rhydon, okay, if this is the team that I'm thinking, that reminds me of a team that I've seen in like SPL 8. I wasn't even around at that time, actually. I just stumbled upon this team that Earthworm used. Jinx, Rhydon, and Machamp. It was so cool. I don't think it's that great, but I guess it could do some nice things. I would like to ask Kingler later why he thinks it's a good pick. Okay, so Zapdos. All right, all right. Rhydon isn't very specially bulky, so it's a bit tricky. Meantime, there was the... Yeah, we'll get back to the Eggy later. In comes Rhydon, okay, and we did see that Raikou is crunched, so this Rhydon is actually pretty good. Okay, so no flying type. Rhydon, Kingler, the player, ugh, god damn it. The player on the right was predicting a flying type coming in there, but nope. Right, or probably just predicting Exeggutor, hence the click of Rock Slide. Are they going to go for it again? Goes for the Earthquake this time. Very interesting to go to Vaporeon and not to Exeggutor. I would have gone to Exeggutor, personally. I feel like it would have leveraged some of the... leveraged Keshbah's position a little better. Instead, every time you go to Vaporeon, you lure in Zapdos, which forces you to go to Raikou, which isn't fun because he knows you don't have hidden power. So, I don't know. Eggy, there, making the adaptation finally, and gets a neat Spadef drop. Not quite in range, I don't think. Jinx coming in. Oh, perhaps it is in range. That's why they stayed in, after all. Or not. I don't know. No, they could also have just stayed in because the Zapdos would have had to use rest, and they didn't want them to get away with full health. Raikou, well, at least he lands a crunch. He does get a Spadef drop. There are so many Spadef drops as of late. Jesus. Eggy, Rhydon's probably going for... Nope, goes for Earthquake again. All right. Attacking what's in front of him. Okay. Gets a very neat Psychic crit. That's not as neat for Kingler, but he's still in a good position with this Jinx. This Jinx is pretty threatening. See, that's where I would bring in the Vaporeon. And especially with the Zapdos gone, this Vaporeon is a bit of a threat. So Kingler's going to want to hold on to his Cloyster. And seeing as this is Growth Talk Vaporeon, even the Lax can pose quite a threat. Jinx appears not to be taking any damage, but I don't know about staying in like that. Hoping for a Spadef drop of his own, but nope. This script only favors one player. Spadef drops only on one side. You're not allowed to get any. Vaporeon's absolutely going to break through that sub. Just scouting what Keshbah's going to do. Goes for a Lovely Kiss. Okay. Alright. Makes sense to me. Get a little bit of momentum there. Threatening a boom. Immediately going to Lax. Nice. Okay. And there's the boom. Okay, that actually puts Keshbah in an awkward... Kingler in an awkward position. Because now with the Vaporeon... with the Cloyster gone, he has fewer answers to Snorlax. Puts the Forretress to sleep, but Forretress is just going to stay in. It's a Steel Bug type. It's not at all worried about Jinx's special attacks. And then they switch out, so... Oh no, used it as a lure. It didn't stay in. Sacks the Raikou. Okay, not wanting to throw away Exeggutor. Because of the speed tie, it doesn't come in as consistently. So yeah, there it is. Keshbah, okay, Ice Beam. The Machamp took out the Raikou. In came the Jinx, then the Lax, and here we are again. Keshbah's in a pretty tough spot right now, actually, because the Machamp is pretty fast, gets a mean crit on that Golem. Keshbah did not need that to happen right now. And yeah, as we can see, this is that team that Earthworm used all those years ago. I don't know if it's the precise moves, but there you have it. This very well could be that same team, eh? I mean, it achieves the same function. And at this point, right, in the game, Kingler realizes that his Lax is more conducive towards a win in so much that it can beat the Exeggutor, because then the rest of the Mons that Kingler is packing can take care of this Snorlax. And there you go. It comes in on a double edge. Very good switch, in my opinion. Going to be able to outspeed. Earthquake essentially kills. Not really sure, but not going to kill the Eggy, of course. But yeah, the Lax's days are counted. Keshbah being diligent, trying to regain HP. Goes first, but Psychic. All right. And gets another one off. But that also, in turn, puts him in a weaker position against this Jinx. So, Jinx absolutely can kill here. Yep, stab, Ice Beam. And the Lax can come in. This is... I think Ice Beam kills. Yeah, all right. So, I'm going to pause for a moment and have my dinner, and we'll get back to this. So, Kingler is on the board. All right, one dinner and 2 episodes of Suits LA later, I return to my humble abode to continue this commentating session. Let's go to game 2. We got ourselves a Jinx versus Raikou lead and a Nidoking. Oh man, our little purple dinosaur. Haven't seen him in a while. He's less and less prevalent in these games nowadays. We do see that it is Thief, and we've already seen a cased victory team in one of these replays I covered. I see so many games now, it's hard to keep track. Chloe comes in, gets those spikes, and this Lax is without leftovers. How is that going to impact it? Well, first of all, Double Edge is just going to make its HP inch closer to... positions where it needs to rest, and also the spikes are going to make it more than easily within 3-hit KO range from a Thunder from Zapdos. So yeah, and that's not even counting Magnet. So yeah, or a Toxic for that matter. Fori comes in on the opposing Lax, then in comes Gengar. So now they're both with spikes, and now Raikou's lost its lefties too. So this really, really looks like the case victory team. And, yeah, it's good to see a bit of old things, a bit kind of a revival, Skarmory reveal here. That's, yep, okay. Not an easy matchup, and that is a Thief Jinx too, so... yeah, this is not an easy matchup, but then again, not without its outs. So Snorlax could have a... oh, sorry, hold back. Yawned. It's pretty late. So yeah, this Snorlax and this Fori and this Skarmory. Okay, so... Skarmory did manage to get the Jinx Toxic, but it also doesn't have leftovers. That's not as impactful, but it's still something to keep in mind. I just think that against this specific type of offense, it's not so simple. Misdreavus, that's something you would like to see in this matchup, even more so than a T-Tar. So that's good for Keshbah. And in comes the Zap. We're about to find out if it is Magnet. No, it's not. Okay, well... so it's not a 1-for-1 match, but so far, it is, it has the Whirlwind, so, and a Reflect. So that's the only true variation here, the fact that it has Reflect and Leftovers, as opposed to Thunder and T-Bolt and Hidden Power Water. Dealing massive amounts of damage here, and if the Snorlax lands but one Double Edge, then it's... gonna get into the range of another Thunder. Okay, now me personally, I wouldn't have clicked Whirlwind right then and there, but I would have gone for one more attack. Oh, wait, no, never mind, because Zapdos is faster. So, yeah, that wouldn't have changed anything. Okay, so the Reflect is still up. The Raikou was phased in, and then Keshbah goes to Misdreavus. We have to see what this Misdreavus has. If it has... Oh, no, actually, we already saw Psychic. Never mind. So the Psychic is meant to hit Gengar and Nidoking. It's also a nice first Machamp. There's a Toxic there. That's going to put the Zapdos on a timer. And with Zapdos gone, really, there isn't much that this team can do. But I may stand corrected. We'll see. We'll see. Of course, Kingler could always get lucky or could choose which Mons he's going to keep in. And he could still have a bag of tricks up his sleeve. So, as you can see, the Double Edge recoil actually put Snorlax in range of an Earthquake. That's how Thief is so impactful. Starmie coming in here and only goes for a Surf. So, classic me Missy stall. I don't typically run it so much myself, but, you know. And it has Substitute, making it even better for the stall player. Yeah, that's a very elegant choice. A lot of Zapdoses just go for an attack here, but not in this case. So he puts the Lax in range, and with the Sleep Talk, you know, there was only one good move it could have called upon. But it didn't happen, so. Wow, and this Zapdos is landing a lot of crits. Kingler getting a lot of value out of that Zapdos, despite it being poisoned. When it switches out and then when it switches out and then back in, it just becomes regular poison. So that at least makes the Zapdos live a little longer. You know, there's only one Madman player I've ever seen that runs Rest and Whirlwind, who is currently banned for not paying someone in a money match. If you know, you know. Nidoking staying in on the Misdreavus that has Psychic but also has Toxic. Basically Machamp's worst nightmare. Not that that's here. We don't care about that right now. Jinx coming in. Doesn't land a Lovely Kiss. Kingler is trying to make the most of RNG right now, because he knows that that's his ticket out of this poison-infested mess. Because once Kingler will be down one Mon, and that's when the whole offense thing starts to fall apart. He's already with a very difficult matchup, but he does have a Snorlax with which he can threaten. Interesting. Wow. Okay, I like that. Really plays into the human psychology here. Keshbah didn't want to throw away the Snorlax on a 50-50, on a speed tie. But that might have been favorable. So Kingler just bets on the fact that Keshbah would switch out and goes to Cloyster. On the only he's basically trying to close any opportunity that the Snorlax might have of coming back. Of course, if Misdreavus had landed Psychic there, Cloyster might have died. Might have. Yeah, might. But with the spikes there, it's very dangerous. Of course, Kingler could always use Whirlwind, and then the Snorlax could accidentally be called in. So, he's got to watch out. Lax. Kingler has his own Lax. Is never going to touch this Misdreavus. So this Misdreavus looks like it has a long time to be alive. Just going to get a couple of hits off on that Lax. Kingler's going to curse. You never know. You never know. The curse is kind of nice because it's like, okay, now you're not allowed to switch out because you're going to get something killed. Okay. Never mind. Keshbah is going to try and go to Fori, hoping to spin those spikes away. But he knows that that's just going to lure in the Gar, which Misdreavus can threaten. And Misdreavus kind of wins out in this matchup here, given those specific moves. So, this is a bit of it's a bit of cat and mouse, let's just say. Misdreavus already used 8 psychics. And now has used a handful of toxics as well. There is that Spadef drop, but it's not really threatened by Misdreavus of all things. A Raikou, on the other hand, would be much more threatening. With that Spadef drop, of course. But even so, this Snorlax will probably be fine. That's a nice 28%. That's gonna stand. That's now a clean 4-hit KO on Skarmory. Of course, if it were at +2, that would be a 3-hit, so. Cloy, just hanging in there. Does it want to stay in? We don't really know. Goes for a boom. I mean, it was pretty low. Not much else it could have done. But it draws blanks because the Misdreavus came in. Yeah, so far. I mean, the Nidoking could still be quite threatening, especially with Fori weakened. We already saw how it brought Lax down to 1%. But the Misdreavus is holding up to be a really strong glue in this matchup. So you have to keep in mind, though, never underestimate a losing player's ability to bring it back. Because desperation is a very, very valid weapon. You can see that even in nature or in an MMA fight. You could always get knocked out, especially by the guy that's worse than you or worse off than you. So always be careful. It can be very difficult. This Nidoking is dangerously low. But once the window starts to close, that's when the losing player might start to take a huge risk that you were not prepared for. And then what? You were playing the safe game the whole time, and they capitalized. I swear to God, if I see another notification saying that Audible is charging me for something that I didn't pay for, fuck Audible. There we go. And now Kingler manages to find that window that he needed to start doing a bit of damage. Keshbah sacrifices the Lax. All right. But he does want those spikes gone now that Cloyster's dead. But is Kingler going to give that to him? Maybe. Starmie? I don't know about this. Okay. As you can see, unlike with most other Mons, this is like one of the rarest cases of a Pokemon that doesn't resist normal. It's not particularly offensive. It's not particularly bulky. And yet, it finds itself constantly in the situation where it's staring down the queen of GSC, Snorlax. And it has to make a decision. Do I provide that utility, or do I take 50%? Actually, it's always usually around 55%. So it even You even lose out on the recovery war, right? And Starmie risks getting crit, so you don't even get the spike. It risks getting chipped down. But even if it dies, what turn are we on? Turn 81. Let's assume that we've been switching around for a quarter of those turns. That's 20 turns. 20 turns of grounded Pokemon touching spikes. That's 20 times 12.5%. Even if you wanted to be even more generous and you say that each of those turns were somehow recovered or mitigated by lefties, which in this case we know they weren't because of the thief. But let's say it did, right? 20 times 6.25. Now that's approximately 120%. So that is one entire Pokemon killed. So the spikes, and that's me being generous, okay? 20 turns of grounded Pokemon with lefties taking damage. Okay? That's more than one Pokemon. So Starmie taking that double edge, even a curse boosted double edge, could be worth it. Okay, the math checks out. I've played stall games where there was 300 turns and spikes were the main damaging factor, where it was able to completely wipe out an entire team. So yeah. I just wanted to focus on that. So you can see here, Jinx got phased in, took spikes damage, but did not take poison damage. And I actually think it has to do with the fact that Whirlwind comes after poison, and poison comes at the right after an action is done. So you can die to poison before lefties, but if you take spikes damage due to a roar, the negative priority comes into play, and so they never check the toxic or the poison. I like to think that that is the correct interpretation of how it goes. That's what happens when you spend 10 years playing a game. Talking into a phone. In a room. In the dark. In the company of these fruit flies that keep on harassing my sink. I don't have anything for you guys. I cleaned the fucking kitchen. Leave me alone. Okay, I didn't really do it. I didn't clean the kitchen. But I don't have anything for them. I ate all the food. I'm not a guy that leaves a plate untouched. That's not me, okay? My spirit animal is somewhat akin to Snorlax. Right before hibernation. You know. That period where he goes to sleep. And we always shame Snorlax for being fat, but can we just be honest for a second? Bears burn most of their fat by sleeping. Like, if we could do that, imagine all of the soccer moms. They would use that as a training regimen just to stay fit. And not just soccer moms, you know. Like, let's be real for a second here. Like, we always fat shame these bears, but they need that fat. It gives them defense. It gives them special defense. I don't know how many bears run into leviathans, dragons, and ghosts, but, you know, the fat clearly serves a purpose, as this game is showing. And so, you know, it just kind of... then they burn that fat for warmth. They consume the calories in their sleep. That's, like, really efficient. And there we go. There are the spikes. Hey, what do you see? See, 20 turns later, Starmie manages to spin the spikes away for good. About time, I would say, right? Like, this is just... Right now, you're cooking dinner and you're listening to a guy that is just commentating pixels moving with outdated flash animations. And there's no music, you know. And it's just a repeated sequence of turns until these machinations fall into place and then something comes through. It's like, GSC is a metaphor of time, where you see the water and it's constantly going until eventually it erodes the walls that are supposed to give the course to that stream. And then eventually it creates a new direction. And that's essentially what this is. It's a game of inches. You're just chipping away until something gives. Like this Nidoking. But this Nidoking took something. I don't know, man. I feel like Kingler's losing. I guess this means we're going to get to a game 3. And this recording is already I started over, so this is 20 minutes. And the first half was 10. And there was my segment in Spanish. So this might be our first replay that's going to break the 40-minute mark. Yeah. Now, this is going to be a bitch to edit because of memory reasons. Oh, yeah. Skipping ahead. Okay, skip some more. Now every time I know that they're just going to recover, I'm just going to skip. 4E goes for a hidden power fire. Okay. Clicking the skip button makes the turns go a little bit faster. I can skip the lefty's recovery. And there's the forfeit. He says, I need to go to work. Huh. Joke's on you. I don't have a work. No, that's not true. Hello to my students and such. Yeah, if you're watching this instead of studying for the exam, I will kill you. So, you know who you are, my few students. All right, we got Eggy, Nidoking. Mind you, these guys are in the winner's bracket, so no worries. If you like them very much, you'll still get a chance to see them. But this is going to be the match. So the match-deciding game is what I want to say. Zappy comes in on the Nido. It's Lovely Kiss, Thief. All right, so last two are almost necessarily EQ Ice Beam. Almost. We don't really know that for sure. Zap. Egg Zap Cloy. Okay. There's a non-zero chance that Kingler chose the same team. Which, if he did, my hat goes off to him. Because that takes some balls to do that. Usually people are like, no, that's not going to work on me. But, I mean... Fuck. Hey, T-Tar, is that a prediction? It looks like it was, yeah. No pursuit, no pursuit. So it's not the same team, not the same team. Lax staying in on Tar. Well, yeah, that's clearly what they want to do when they stay in like that. And Keshbah's team is really weak to T-Tar. It only has Snorlax to answer it. I suppose Eggy can kind of pose a threat. Zapdos without leftovers is certainly not going to switch in to that. But that begs the question, what is the last Pokemon? Because it's not going to be a Machamp, right? Or a Marowak. Could be something that really doesn't want to come in on that. Could be a Tentacruel. Alright, Gengar. There's another Thief. Oh wow, that would be so funny if a Thiefmon stole from a Thiefmon and then that perpetuates the cycle of thievery forever. That would be really funny. It's like, oh man, I don't agree with that play at all, but it paid off. I don't agree. I disagree. Nice T-Bolt there, but not gonna cut it against this Tar. So, I don't know, something tells me that Keshbah is running just Explosion as the last move. And something tells me that this Tyranitar isn't... I think it's a mixed Tar. Like, we haven't seen Dynamic Punch, we haven't seen Screech. I think it's just, like, something weird, like Rock Slide, Pursuit, Surf. Or a Crunch. Or Fire Blast and some other bullshit move. I don't see why you would bring it in on the Gar if you didn't think you could capitalize better. But it's paying off. Like, it's doing decent amounts of damage to that Snorlax. And the Keshbah is respecting that. Not going to anything else. So, the Zapdos is doing some damage. But believe it or not, Kingler's doing pretty well. Just, the Tar is getting weak, but you don't really have much of a better answer. At least until you kill something else. So, we're going to see if Kingler can break through, or if Keshbah will break through, or outlast the Snorlax. Maybe he gets a boom off. I think right now he's winning in terms of percentages, but it's hard to say. Gargang. Yep. I mean, it is neutral. I mean, there's no way, right, that you bring in T-Tar a third time and don't click Pursuit. Instead, Kingler goes for that. And there it is. There is the I really fucking hate switching in on T-Tar Mon. Yeah, that explains everything. Oh, man. Espeon is gonna screw Keshbah if he doesn't act. Oh, no, it's not Baton Pass. Okay, he's fine. Or is he? Maybe it's not. There could be one last move. Okay, goes for the Psychic. I don't know how much I agree, but then again, this Alakazam hasn't revealed Encore yet, so... Okay, if there is a time to click Crunch, it is right now. What is that T-Tar? What is it? I feel like Keshbah should have been better equipped for T-Tar, but it's not... Right now, this matchup is weird. I don't know. I feel like if Kingler doesn't reveal a Baton Pass yesterday, there is no way they are winning. That's just my... I said Keshbah. No, I said Kingler. Why do I choose the only replay where both players have unrecognizable weird names? Quirky. Why does everybody have a fucking cool avatar and I don't? When I joined, only like some people had an avatar. Now there's like 15 fucking team tours and everyone gives a custom AV. And I don't have one. People that have joined for 4 months have it. I don't have one. That's the only real reason why I joined Ruins of Alph Premier League. Because I want a fucking AV. Like, I'd put off a marriage for this. I'd be like, yeah, no, honey, I can't commit. I'm not ready for that type of commitment yet until I get what I came for. I hope you understand. You guys get it. You know what I mean. Like, it's just, this is validation. Validation is more frivolous, but somehow more valued than ELO is. The brownie points. We click buttons to see a machine decide something happened for us, and then we get to brag about it. If that isn't love, I don't know what is. This is the most resilient, tough fucking cookie Espeon I've ever seen. This is an Espeon. This isn't an Espeon. It's a mother-in-law that refuses to leave. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, so I said, oh, wow, because Zapdos rested, but, like, it's always weird when Zapdos has lefties, and you think, yeah, Zapdos can come in on Cloyster, but it doesn't have enough HP and it dies to Surf. That's happened to me before. It's embarrassing. And I don't mean a crit Surf. I mean just a vanilla water type attack. And you did not account for that. It's like, oh, fuck. Well, this is certainly more... This is kind of interesting. Interesting team from Keshbah. I don't know. See, this is kind of the problem. This is the problem with special offense. And this is also the problem with Thiefgar. More so than just the special offense. When you have 4 special attackers, 2 of them could explode and then 1 has nothing for Snorlax, you end up with this situation where it relies entirely on your ability to just push through the Queen of GSC. And if you can't, then you're shit out of luck. That's it. Just, okay, so this game will prolong itself until someone is unfortunate enough to get crit. And that's just how it is. That's why I like physical offense a little better or setup mons. Like, in my ideal world, whenever you build a team, with few exceptions, you have 1 setup mon. 1. Okay, the Cloyster sets off a boom. And I want to see the situation from here, right? So with the Cloyster gone, that's 1 less. Now Kingler has no explosion for the Snorlax. This lovely Kiss Nidoking is not going to beat it. Tyranitar is weak, but Kingler has Curse Lax and has Growth Espeon, but Growth Espeon is not going to come in. So now they could pressure, but again, it's Curse Lax. So if Keshbah isn't careful, he could take out everything. Kingler could also try to make the Lax be the last Pokemon and then sweep. But in the process, he also has to get rid of 2 or 3 explosion users. So I think the ball is in Keshbah's court, I would say, judging by this situation. Kingler could still pull something. Wake up, sleep talk. Okay. All right. Damn, this video is already... Just this segment of the video is already nearly 1 gig. That's insane. I'm not even editing it yet. This might have to go through a couple of edits just to fit the right size. Okay, so... Oh, shit. I'm at 2%. Just like... My battery was at 2%. Just like the Espeon. I need my charger. I threw out my charger yesterday. Okay, this T-Tar is dead now, right? Oh dear. Nice switch. Nice switch. Okay. Oh dear. Yeah, now we're resorting to bringing in raw Snorlax on Snorlax. That's the level of desperation right now, which is understandable. But if you can get just 1 kill, that could help Kingler a lot. Keshbah's being very careful. Trying to get a freeze gets a nice crit, but that's not really going to matter. T-Bolt, yeah, okay. We don't really care what the Snorlax does. It can't touch it. Curse, whatever. It's trying to get a freeze. Uses T-Bolt, T-Bolt. Could boom here. Could boom because that, okay, that would be a nice technique. I would like to see that. I would like to see a Gengar boom followed by an Alakazam Encore. Because the cool thing about Encore is it doesn't work on Sleep Talk, it works on Rest. So if the target is there, and it used Rest as its last move, then you can force it to use Rest while asleep as well. Essentially forcing it to do nothing. So if you have a good turn and the Lax rests, it's at +1, you give a T-Bolt, then you boom, so the next turn it doesn't act. So it didn't really burn that second turn of sleep. Then Zam comes in, you Encore it, and then you can keep going and you can mash it. I don't know, that would be nice. I don't know, that's just my point of view. Gets a curse off. I think a boom is safe. Boom is safe here. But, yeah. Then again. Yeah, you could... No, not like that. No, I mean, maybe he doesn't have Encore, actually. We don't know. But you could have boomed. You T-bolted. You boomed. And then you followed up with Encore. And now the Snorlax has to use Curse. That would be even worse. All right. Yep, catches that. And Kingler's up 1, but the Lax is low. I guess it got the job done. Gets the job done. Alakazam can win this. Sleep Talk Thunder Para. Ew. Yeah, no. If this was Encore, then he screwed up royally. He royally screwed up here. Keshbah through. Keshbah's out. There's no way. When Keshbah doesn't... Suddenly, the 2-for-1 boom, missing the target, that really sucks. Now that Alakazam... Even if Alakazam gets through, the Lax can rest because the Alakazam is slower. Because of the Para in Gen 2... Your paralysis drops your speed. It did have Encore. Damn, I served you the setup on a silver platter. You should have boomed followed up by Encore. Oh, no. Not like this. Espeon's just going to set up. Set up. Stand up. Set up. Sand up. Stand up for your right. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, okay, the moment this Espeon is gone from that Encore, you are fucked. Well, this Encore is lasting long. How many turns was that? Yeah, no, that's dead. What the fuck? What is going on? There's a lot of spaghetti. A lot of spaghetti plays in this game. It's like, no, I'm not done with this game. I don't want to win just yet. Here, you go. Why are we staying in? Oh, no. Okay, I get it. But still, you gotta take care of the fucking Eggy. Ugh. There's so much spaghetti happening in this game. Oh, well, yeah, fuck. Because, of course, we thief on turn 100. It would be remiss of me to exclude the option that someone could thief on turn 100 when the game is over. Why don't you use Hidden Power Fire while you're at it? All right. Finally. Fuck. After 100 turns of non-linear plays, I think this match is coming to a conclusion. There it is. All right. For a minute there, I thought it was a bygone conclusion that foregone conclusion that Kingler was going to win this set, and I guess I just misremembered because they both had K in their name. So this is Cherry signing off with bad grammar, and I don't know what to say of this set. It was pretty interesting. I'll give it that. It was interesting to watch. I don't think this makes the 1 hour mark, but definitely makes the 50 minute one. So there you go, folks. You got some more stuff to watch, I guess. Yeah, no, the Alakazam was a missed opportunity. Kingler probably panicked under pressure there. Stayed in because of fear of Snorlax, but I don't know. Kingler didn't really have many options. Probably I say the only real mistake in the ending was staying in on the Exeggutor. That's it. You had a Zapdos, go to it. And the game was yours. Otherwise, the game is not yours. That was it. It really just boiled down to don't stay in on the Eggy. Okay, yeah.